They weren't famous rappers. They didn't pose on social media. But behind closed doors, they moved over 50 kilos of high-purity cocaine across the UK every single month. Twin brothers, Leon and Anthony Cullen, turned the quiet town of Warrington into a fortress. A fake printing business up front. A cocaine empire behind it. For 10 years, they ran a silent empire. Until it collapsed in Warrington, Cheshire. By the time police caught on, the Cullen brothers were already gone. One would vanish to Dubai, the other would prepare for war. This is the story of the Cullen Cartel. Welcome to the Crime Vaults. I want to thank all of you, especially my loyal subscribers, for being here. If you're passionate about true crime stories, make sure to follow us for more in-depth cases. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Your support keeps these stories alive. Leon and Anthony Cullen were born in 1987 in Longford, a working-class neighborhood on the northern edge of Warrington. The town sat between Liverpool and Manchester, two cities deeply entrenched in drug wars throughout the late 90s and early 2000s. While the Cullen household itself wasn't involved in crime, the streets outside told a different story. Growing up, the twins were inseparable, but very different in personality. Anthony was calm, quiet, and calculating, the one who charmed teachers and kept his head down. Leon, on the other hand, was intense, impulsive, and unpredictable. People either respected him or feared him. Sometimes both. Together, they made a pact early on: they wouldn't stay small. While most street dealers chased fast money, the Cullens studied the system. They took notes on who got caught and who didn't. By the time they were 18, the Cullen brothers weren't pushing small bags. They were building an organization. Their first business front was called Spot On Signs, a signage and printing company on paper. But behind the closed doors, it was a laundering hub for a rapidly growing drug operation. Everything was documented. Spreadsheets tracked who owed money, who moved product, and where payments were due. They didn't operate like gangsters. They operated like executives. The product? High-purity cocaine, sourced from Liverpool, often through connections with the Tobin brothers, two of the UK's biggest wholesalers. They paid wages, set bonuses, issued warnings when payments were late. The Cullen cartel was professional and expanding. In late 2010, Cheshire Police launched Operation Cortex, a covert surveillance mission targeting the Cullens. Undercover teams tracked stash houses, couriers, burner phones, slowly building the map. In early 2011, they moved. Leon Cullen was arrested. Authorities uncovered drugs, weapons, and detailed ledgers that proved he ran a regional Class A supply ring. He was sentenced to 9 years and 8 months. Anthony Cullen, however, wasn't caught in the first wave. Instead, he stepped in to fill the power vacuum, running operations while Leon was behind bars. But police were still watching. Just a year later, another raid brought Anthony Cullen down. He was caught at a drug processing site, surrounded by blocks of pure cocaine. He was sentenced to 5.5 years. It looked like the Cullen empire was finished. But prison wasn't the end, it was just a pause. By 2015, both brothers were out, and this time, they were smarter. The new front was called Future Press Limited, a marketing and merchandise company. But again, it was just a mask. Behind the paperwork was a drug empire generating up to £290,000 a month. Leon stayed in the shadows. No phones, no online presence, and no direct contact with the product. Anthony handled logistics and security. They had a military-like structure. Chris Ton managed the gang's arsenal, including rifles, pistols, and hand grenades. Shah Ryan enforced debts and intimidation. Teams of couriers moved cash and cocaine between Liverpool, Warrington, North Wales, and beyond. The system was disciplined. If one courier fell, they couldn't expose the rest, because they didn't know who the rest were. It was airtight. By 2016, police knew the Cullens were back. But this time, they needed a bigger plan. They launched Operation Samurai, a 1.5-year-long deep surveillance mission. It tracked vehicles, phones, drop-offs, meetings, and hidden compartments. One of the biggest breakthroughs came in August 2018. Police intercepted a van on the M6 with 186 kilograms of 90% pure cocaine hidden in a false floor. Street value, £20 million, the largest land seizure in UK history. Soon after, they prepared for a full takedown. On January 10, 2018, coordinated police raids struck multiple stash houses, transport hubs, and safe flats across Warrington. Anthony Cullen was arrested without incident. Chris Ton was found with an arsenal of hidden firearms. Matthew Spencer and Nigel Girk were caught with tens of thousands of pounds in cash. But one man was missing, Leon Cullen. He'd vanished days before the raids. Leon Cullen left no trace. No phones. No bank activity. No addresses. For nearly 2 years, he was a ghost. But the police were patient. Finally, in early 2020, a lead came in. Leon was living in Dubai under a false identity, renting a luxury flat. He was arrested and extradited to the UK under armed escort. The last piece had fallen. May 14, 2021, Liverpool Crown Court. The trial exposed the full scale of the Cullen cartel. Anthony Cullen, 33, was sentenced to 27 years. Leon Cullen, 33, got 22 years and 6 months. Chris Ton was handed 20 years. Others received between 10 to 14 years. In total, the combined prison sentences for the network exceeded 185 years. To make sure the message stuck, Cheshire Police publicly displayed aged mugshots of Leon and Anthony Cullen, showing how they'd look at the end of their sentences. A stark warning to others chasing fast money. But removing the Cullens didn't bring peace. It created a power vacuum. Within weeks, violence surged across Warrington. A grenade was thrown at a family home. A man was shot in a drive-by. Rival crews began fighting for turf. Police patrols increased, but the streets remained tense. The Cullen cartel had run on silence and structure. Now that the structure was gone, chaos had taken its place. Leon and Anthony Cullen didn't just run drugs. They ran a business. A criminal enterprise disguised as professionalism. But beneath the spreadsheets and clean branding was violence, greed, and intimidation. They thought they could stay invisible. And for a time, they did. But eventually, every empire falls.